And you're live, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this council meeting. My name is Councillor Mark Hurd, and I'm the Chairman of Maldon District Council. This meeting is held under new regulations which came into effect in 2020 on the 4th of April in response to the COVID-19 situation. This meeting is being hosted remotely, streamed live and recorded, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving consent to being recorded. I also welcome our local government association colleagues who are present to observe this evening's meeting. So welcome to you. Members, could I ask everyone present in this meeting to ensure your microphone is muted when not addressing the council. This reduces background noises and unintentional disturbances. During each item, members, please use the hands up function of the meeting to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Members are reminded that apart from indicating points of order or that you have to leave the meeting, the chat function should not be used for questions or any other purpose. When speaking and referring to the agenda papers, please ensure you reference a page or paragraph number and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. Please ensure you turn on your microphone when you speak. Now, if I may ask officers taking part in the meeting to introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Dodson.
Good evening, members. Paul Dodson, Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance.
Thank you, Mr. Dodson. Mr. Holmes.
Good evening, members. Richard Holmes, Director of Service Delivery. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leslie.
Good evening. I'm Chris Leslie, Director of Resources.
Thank you. Mrs. Emma Holmes.
Good evening, Chair. It's Emma Holmes, Senior Legal Specialist and Deputy Monitoring Officer.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Good evening, members. I'm Matthew Lee, Lead Specialist Place and Chief Planning Officer here at Maldon District Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Butcher.
Good evening, members. Stephen Butcher, Commercial Manager.
Thank you. And Miss Bird.
Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, members. Tara Bird. I'm the committee clerk for this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other officers present, please? Okay, thank you. Miss Bird, please, can we now have a roll call of members to confirm who is in attendance? Thank you.
Yes, Chairman, members, if you could just indicate you're here when I call your name, please. Starting with Councillor Bassinger, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miss Beale.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Brian Beale.
Good evening. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here.
Councillor Boyce.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Channer.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I'm present, Tara. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Durham.
Present.
Edwards.
Good evening, everyone. Present.
So Mrs. Fleming.
Present, Tara. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fluker.
Present.
Bird, obviously you're present, Mr. Chair.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Helm.
Present, Tara.
Thank you. Councillor Hull.
Present, Tara. Thank you.
Councillor Jarvis.
Evening, Tara. Chairman, members.
Good evening. Councillor Keys.
Good evening, members. Evening, Chairman. Evening, Tara. Present.
Good evening. Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
Good evening, all. Good evening, Tara. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Mays.
Good evening, Tara. Present.
Councillor Morris. Councillor Morris. I seem to have lost Councillor Morris. Councillor Nunn.
Yes, good evening, Tara. Good evening, everyone present.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Tara. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Siddle.
Good evening, Tara. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Skeens.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, Tara.
Thank you. Councillor Stamp.
Good evening, Tara, Chairman, members, officers. I'm present.
Good evening. Thank you. Councillor Stilts.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Swain.
Yes, good evening. Present, Tara.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Thompson.
Oh, good evening, everyone. I'm present. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miss White.
Good evening, Tara. I'm present. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. And I believe Councillor Morris is back online. Councillor Morris, is that right? Can you just confirm you're in attendance, please? Chairman, I can see he's online, but we're obviously having problems hearing him. But thank you, that's the roll call.
Okay, perhaps you'd let me know when we're able to make contact.
Of course, Chairman.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2 is apologies for absence. May I have the apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chairman, apologies have been received from Councillor Jewett, and we have been advised that Councillor Morley is hoping to join the meeting a little late. Thank you very much.
Thank you, that's noted. Agenda item number 3 is declaration of interest. This is to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other pecuniary interests, or non-pecuniary interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraphs 6 to 8 inclusive of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interests as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. If any member has an interest to declare, please use the hands up function now to indicate, and I will invite you to speak. Tara, can you please advise if any member has indicated a wish to speak?
Yes, Chairman. Councillor Durham, Councillor Boyce and Councillor Mrs Channer have indicated they wish to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Durham.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a non-pecuniary interest as a member of Essex County Council, so any item on today's agenda that pertaining to that organisation, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boyce.
Sorry, Chairman, did you ask for me?
Yes,
Chairman?
did you have a declaration?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Did you have a declaration that you wanted to declare?
Yes, the agenda item in P&C as an Arms House trustee, I may have a non-pecuniary interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boyce. Councillor Channer.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, non-pecuniary, I'm also a member of Essex County Council, so any matter within the reports that refer to it, but I would say that I can see at the moment, but anything is mentioned sort of in a surreptitious way, so it's agenda item number 10, certainly number 12, 13, 16, Chairman, and then also some of the P&C items, which I can't name, and then also regarding a P&C item, like Councillor Boyce, I must declare, and I think it may be non-pecuniary, I'm a trustee of an Arms House charity, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any other members with declarations?
Chairman, Councillor Helm.
Councillor Helm, I'm sorry, I couldn't see your hand. Councillor Helm.
Right, we're there. I'm also a member of Arms House charity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just for the record, I'm also a trustee of a local charity, the Joseph Henry Unwin charity, which has provided money to all the food banks in Maldon. And that is on agenda item number 10, non-pecuniary. Agenda item 4 is the minutes from the 4th of February, and it's recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on this date, and they're found on pages 7 to 14, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. If you wish to second that motion so we can discuss the minutes, please switch on your microphone and state your name now.
Councillor Mays.
Councillor Mays, thank you very much. If any member wishes to raise any matter of accuracy, please use the hands up function and I'll invite you to speak. Councillor Channer.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Were you going to go through the pages, or do you just want me to say the matter of accuracy?
I will go through the pages, unless you know. Well, I'll start.
I know the page it's on. If that helps, Chairman. I wasn't quite sure if you were going to go through or how you wanted me to do it.
No, I'll go through the pages. So page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11.
Yes, Chairman, please.
Page 11.
Yeah, it's page 11 and 12, actually. It runs over. And I do apologise, Chairman. I did send an email to the committee clerks and yourself, and I apologise. I put the wrong minute number. But it's 245, and it's questions to the leader of the council. And it has got one question down that I did ask, Chairman, but I did ask another question, and that's not recorded. And that question was regarding to the leader about, did she agree with me about the protocol of the council should be followed in public meetings and members should address officers in accordance with the rules agreed by council. I couldn't see that recorded in the minutes, Chairman, so I'm just following what we've been told to do to give prior notice, but I apologise, it was a bit late because it was only when I read it just ahead of the meeting, it sort of jumped out at me, Chairman, so I do apologise. So
you're saying that there is an omission?
Yes, Chairman. One question I asked is in the minutes recorded, but I couldn't see that one, Chairman.
Okay, I think, Ms. Bird, are we able to check the tape and decide whether that is correct or not?
Yes, of course, Chairman, we can do that, no problem at all.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, I can assure it is correct because I have checked the tape myself, but okay, I understand.
We can add that in, Chairman, that's no problem.
Thank you very much. Anything else on page 12? Page 13 and page 14, I so move. Can they be agreed by assent?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Subject to Councillor Channer's observation, so thank you very much. We'll move on now to agenda item 5. These are the minutes from the 23rd of February, and it's recommended that these minutes found on pages 15 to 34 are approved as a true and accurate record. I move to discuss those minutes. If you wish to second that motion, please state your name now.
Councillor Mays.
Thank you, Councillor Mays. Does any member wish to raise any matter of accuracy on these minutes of the 23rd of February? I'll go through them. Page 15, page 16, 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, page 26, page 27, page 28, page 29, page 30, page 31, 32 is blank, and 33 and 34. Are you prepared to agree those by assent?
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, members. The next item is a later item. I'm just getting that up now. So we move on then to agenda item number 6, which is public questions. In accordance with the Council's public participation scheme, I can advise that we've received the following questions question from Mr. D. Sisme. His question is, what feedback has the council leader received from the monitoring officer regarding the council's budget press statement on the 25th of February, and what regard did the council give to Section 2 of the Local Government Act prior to its publication? Does the leader think it is a justifiable use of council taxpayers' money to use the council press office to make partisan political points despite the provisions of the Local Government Act? In accordance with the procedure, there will be no discussion on questions put unless it's formally moved and agreed that the subject matter should be referred to a committee again without discussion. Leader, please can you respond to the question?
Certainly. Whilst the question from Mr. Sisme was submitted after the deadline of 2 clear working days before tonight's meeting, I am happy to provide a response. The monitoring officer provided feedback on the leader's budget statement, and whilst he did not believe it contravened Section 2 of the Local Government Act, he did advise it should be amended, and this action was taken, and the press release reissued. I can confirm that the council reviews all publications and press releases paying regard to Section 2 of the Local Government Act prior to them being released, and where necessary, advice is sought from the monitoring officer. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I'll move on to agenda item 7, Chairman's announcements. Well, members, it's a year today since Maldon District Council requested that all staff work from home temporarily to address concerns regarding COVID-19 and to ensure that we were taking the right approach to ensure the safety of our staff. You may remember that earlier that week, 1 year ago, we had an emergency meeting of the council to establish interim arrangements for managing the organisation whilst council meetings could not be held in the chamber. This set the council in good stead for the challenges we would face, and I'm very proud of the way that the council has responded. 1 year on, I think it is appropriate to reflect upon the past year, which has brought unprecedented changes, challenges, and also brought out the best from both Maldon District Council and the communities we serve and work together with. And as we take stock on the year, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our staff at Maldon District Council for their hard work and commitment over the past year, for keeping our services flowing and thereby supporting our residents and businesses. I also thank our partners who have come together to work with us, including the Maldon CVS community groups and all of our residents for their support. I'd also like to thank the NHS not only for the care that they have provided, but also for the efficient and rapid rollout of the life-saving vaccine, which I'm certain is our way back to some normality through the course of this year. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to reflect that many people have lost friends and family to the COVID epidemic. And I ask you to join me in a minute's silence as we remember those who we have lost and those who are still slowly recovering from this illness. Thank you very much indeed, members. Other chairman announcements. There was a charity chocolate tasting event, which was very kindly attended in Waltham for the London Borough of Waltham Forest by the Vice Chairman, Councillor Carly Mays. Thank you very much indeed for that, Councillor Mays. Agenda item number 8 is the minute book. This is the Performance, Governance and Audit Committee on the 25th of February 2021. These are found on pages 35 to 40. Councillor Mrs Stilts to present the minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, members of the Council, I present the minutes of the Performance, Governance and Audit Committee held remotely on the 25th of February 2021. These are found on pages 35 to 40 and I propose their reception and adoption. I so move. Can I have a seconder?
Councillor Jarvis, happy to second those.
Thank you. They are on pages 35, 36, 37, 38, 39 and 40 is a blank page. I so move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Stilts. Nobody has indicated that they wish to speak. I think, Councillor Stilts, we can agree those by assent.
Agreed.
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 Thank you very much. Agenda item number 9 is minutes of meetings of the Council, and this is to note that since the last meeting of the Council and up until Wednesday the 10th of March, the committees listed have met and to receive any questions in accordance with Council and Committee Procedure Rule 6.2. If any member wishes to raise a question in relation to the minutes of this meeting, please make this known by using the hands up function within this meeting. Tara, has anyone indicated they wish to speak, please?
No, Chairman, nobody has. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm satisfied then that no members wish to speak, and hopefully you're happy to agree those by assent.
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you very much. We now move to agenda item 10, notice of motion. Ms Bird, can we be, do we know if Councillor Morris is with us?
Chairman, he is on the call, yes. He's got his camera on.
Okay.
You can hear me?
Okay,
yes, we
that's
can hear
fine.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we move then to notice of motion, agenda item number 10, in accordance with notice duly given under Procedure Rule 4, Councillor Morris to move the following motion, duly seconded by Councillor Bell. Councillor Morris, are you able to read out your motion, please?
I certainly am, Chairman. Thank you. In view of the current difficulties our community faces, Maldon District Council pledges to operate a food bank to help the vulnerable people of our district that will be located within the council offices in Maldon, as well as any suitable location at Burnham-on-Crouch as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, as seconder, do you wish to add anything?
I don't, Mr. Chairman. I think Councillor Morris has summed it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now invite members to make any comments on the motion. Again, please use your hands up function. Tara, has anybody indicated that they wish to speak?
Yes, Chairman, I've got Councillor Mays, Councillor Durham, Councillor Mrs Channer, Councillor Boyce, Councillor Beale, Miss Beale, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I think I got most most of those. Councillor Mays first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this district already has a full network of food banks, community fridges and food hubs. Councillors have been working hard with a number of partners, including CVS, the cafe at St Peter's, the Salvation Army, and both Heybridge and Maldon parish councils on how to protect and enhance the current provision for the direct benefit of those in our community who need it. This has been going on since last year and throughout the pandemic to date. The council's already supported the implementation of the funding of a community storage unit, which is actually run by Maldon Community Volunteer Service, who have also introduced very recently a new referral system for emergency provision across the district for all our partners to use. I myself have actually used this particular referral system and it works a treat. Joshua Fulcher, the Strategic Team Lead, Community Strategy, Policy and Communications, has spearheaded much of this work on behalf of the council already. His knowledge gained in Manchester of food banks and their provision has made the council a key component in multi-agency discussions that are in progress at the moment with partners and stakeholders about the services on offer to our community. Grant funding from the ELC has provided additional resources to our communities, resulting in 196 food hampers at Christmas and a very staggering 567 hampers through the months of January and February. This amounts to a total worth of over £10,000. Additional food for residents who are in need and is a top up to the existing network that we already have. This has continued through March and will continue further into April and early May and will be of a similar, if not even higher level. As a result of this ongoing work and the number of partners and stakeholders that are already involved in this multi-agency approach, I would like to make the following amendment to the motion. In view of the current difficulties our community faces, Maldon District Council pledges to continue working with outside agencies to identify and support our existing food banks whilst investigating whether more food banks are needed within the district. This support may include offering assistance via website publicity, as well as promoting a multi-agency approach to our community needs. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mays. So we have an amended motion on the table. Councillor Durham.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, I will be supporting this motion and voting against the amendment for a couple of very good reasons, in my view. I support this totally because food banks have become a fact of life and provide food for those most in need. All of us here are fortunate enough to have adequate food for our needs, but it cannot be said for everybody for whatever reason. We all know the pandemic has had a significant impact on families, and once furlough ends later this year, many more people are likely to lose their jobs through no fault of their own. But food poverty is not only a COVID matter, and there will always be a need for some people to need this valuable support. I recognise this myself with the Winter Hardship Fund from Essex County Council and was very pleased to be able to give £1,500 in Heybridge to pay for Christmas hampers, but also funding to set up the new Heybridge Food Bank, which is an excellent project. I'm not sure of the practicalities of using the council building, but there is a very good reason why it should be considered. Members, we have the Citizens Advice Bureau, we have the police, we have JobServe, we have all of these various organisations in what has become a hub for the town. I remember very clearly Mr. Holmes saying to me one day that he'd spoken to a lady who was in tears in our reception, and she was overwhelmed by the fact that she could visit just one venue and address all of her issues. In respect of benefits, she was able to see the police and get advice from the CAB. I think that having this central hub, if we can find somewhere in the council offices, or even if it is a satellite to another food bank, I think it would be a really, really good thing. and I totally support this motion as it stands. And I congratulate the member for bringing this to the council tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Crikey, I must admit I'm actually sitting here now feeling a little bit foolish because I clearly hadn't done my due diligence on this issue before I seconded the motion, and I really wasn't aware that all this work involving councillors, involving officers, was already going on, let alone the number of food banks that were available in the community. However, this clearly throws up an issue that we don't know about, what the things that already are going on and the work that is already being done, which, but that's another thing for another time. And I find myself in a position here because the most important thing for me is supporting our vulnerable communities. But the second most important thing for me is empowering those communities to help themselves. And if this is going to step on that and impact on that, then it goes against my values, to be quite honest. And my other concern as well is relating to outputs and outcomes. Now, Councillor Shanna and I were having a conversation, I think yesterday, about how the important thing is outcomes and not outputs. And if we're already on the way to achieving what we aim to, which is food relief for the vulnerable in our community, then it seems we are doing it with less in the way of output, bearing in mind that officers are really under the cosh at the moment. So, members, I'm inclined to support the amendment because it seems the sensible, most efficient, most effective way to ensure that our community's needs are met in the best way possible. That's the important thing for me. And I would hate for any of the community organisations, that are currently involved in this work to feel offended by what we're doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Tara, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the other speakers.
No problem, Chairman. Next is Councillor Mrs Channer and then Councillor Morris. And there's a few more other that I'll advise perhaps once you've done those two, if that makes it easier for you, Chairman.
Okay.
Sorry, Chairman. Did Miss Bird, did you say earlier Councillor Boyce wanted to speak?
No, Chairman.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you. I was going to say, I thought you said Councillor Boyce. Well, Chairman, again, I actually do have a great, if you like, penchant to support the motion to a degree, the principle of it, but really it's the practicalities, I guess, that I'm thinking about with the council offices. I'm not quite sure how that would work or where the food bank would be operating from, but I'm very much a supporter of the food banks, and I will declare, being an Essex County councillor, Essex has done a lot of work, and all the issues that Councillor Mays, I won't now readdress those because she's more or less highlighted what I was going to be saying in terms of the food banks. And I am aware there's a food bank in Burnham as well. I think that operates out of a church, as far as I know. And also Southminster, I actually give some food to the Southminster Bank, and that feeds into Burnham. So albeit I've got sympathies in principle with the motion, it's the practicalities, and there is a lot of work going on by all those names. So it's really how we make the best, most efficient way to ensure we are actually making sure all of the vulnerable people and families, and I'm aware of them very much in my division and also my district council ward. So yes, that's what I wanted to say. I have great sympathies and the principle of the food bank motion, and I wanted to support that. Now I have heard the amendment that's brought into the equation. some very good thinking. And I would be interested now, I don't know if we can do this, Chairman, about the practicalities. How would it run having a food bank in the council offices when we have got like Hub there, where they've got the vaccination centre, the CAB and other bodies? Is it a feasibility, that it could operate? I don't know about times opening up and everything like that, Chairman. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councillor Morris, although your motion was the first one, of course, you are quite entitled to talk on this amendment.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think it probably would be better for the chamber if I wait to hear what everyone's got to say and then come back, because there are some, there's a lot of what I'm hearing so far are assumptions, and I have actually got the information that the members are asking for. So it'd probably be better if I just note down all the members are saying and then come back at the end, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you very much. Councillor Lagan. Councillor Lagan.
No, I'm sorry, Chair, I don't have my hand up.
All right, okay.
Chairman, I've got Councillor Swain next, then Councillor Mrs Thompson, Councillor Fluker, Councillor Boyce, Councillor Durham, Councillor Stilts. Thank you. So Councillor Swain is next, Chairman.
Councillor Swain, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just referring to what both Councillor Durham and Councillor Channer have said, there is a difference between a food bank and the other essentially personal activities of the CAB, police or whatever. The food bank is very much a logistics space consuming activity. But to get to the main points, there are two key things about food banks. One is they are essentially voluntary, and they are a good example of community involvement in supporting each other, and that is what we should build on. The other thing is that they have to be local, so for accessibility to people, and it's a little bit simplistic to just focus on Maldon, Burnham, perhaps South Minster and Heybridge. There will be other people who need the services of a food bank spread out around the villages and around the district. There is an issue there of how one contacts them, but that is to use the existing food banks and provide us with putting A in touch with B. And the best way for doing that is through local contacts, through the voluntary groups or through parish councillors. The motion as put, and this is why I would support the amendment, is that we want to support, we don't want to try and manage, and we don't want the district council trying to provide a management structure to try and control and order all these. This is just be creating an unnecessary bureaucracy, which is sort of antipathetic to the voluntary nature of what has been going on. So I think we should focus on building on the existing network of food banks, encouraging new ones if people wish to set them up, but the kind of support that will be needed will vary from one group to another. And this is why one doesn't want to try and regiment activities. I would very much support the amendment to this motion. I think it's much more realistic. It supports what's going on, and obviously a lot has been going on, is going on, and we should find out from the food banks how we can help them.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I've got to stop you there because we have got other speakers. Thank you, yes, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I rather think I'm with Councillor Swain on this. He picked the very word which I was groping for, and that's bureaucracy. What most of all, although absolutely I support the idea and the principle, but I really wouldn't want to spend resource on duplicating existing effort. That would be silly. We need to put whatever resource we can, and I don't know what that is yet, into actually, providing people with what they need. The other thing, it does strike me that the in-house one requires a report to council, and therefore that's not going to be speedy, whatever we do. So I'm very inclined to support the amendment. I think it would be the quickest way to help, even if we move on to do something else later. I think having a satellite might be a very good idea. But again, we're looking at a report to council and people want the help now. So far, until I hear what everyone else has to say, I think I'm with the amendment, because whatever we've got, we could use to help other people really rather quickly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Fluker.
Thank you, Chairman. Look, I've supported Dengie Food Pantry ever since it started. I mean, I think that's what you're referring to as Southminster, because a lot of people know it's the Southminster one. And look, you know, these people do a huge amount of work, and it works incredibly well. And but my concern about this, and coming from a slightly different angle, Chairman, is it's great having lots of food banks, but can you really get enough donations to sustain them? And then if you can't, then it means that you spread the resources very thin, and then you may find that some people might not get what they actually need. And that is my concern, Chairman. But I agree with all the other comments that have been made about this. And that's all I'll say for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as an aside, it's not so much the donations, but it's certainly volunteers that these food banks need. Ms. Bird, can you tell me, is there, I've got another hand on my screen, but I can't see who it is for another speaker.
Chairman, I've got a few more members, Councillor Boyce, then Councillor Durham, Councillor Stilts and Councillor Hull, and then obviously Councillor Morris is asked to come back at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Durham, I know that you've already spoken on this amendment. I'm going to go next to Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Chairman. I tried to get in at the beginning because what I'm hearing in this debate is why the system was set up of motions being referred to a relevant committee. So an officer's report can be produced on it and all the issues considered at that time. I am quite happy to support either the motion or the amendment in itself, but I do believe that perhaps another amendment on whatever becomes a substantive motion to actually refer this, because all the issues, although Councillor Morris says he's got all the answers, I suspect he hasn't. And I think that at the end of the day, we will need some officer input into advising on this issue. Trying to deliver a scheme at the council meeting is trying to describe a horse and end up with a camel. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councillor Boyce. Councillor Stilts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've listened to what everyone says, and I am in complete agreement with some of the things that have been said. We're not trying to say we don't want a food bank. We do. We think that, you know, but the best things to do are to support the ones that are already there. There's already a food hub at Steeple. There's already the food bank at Southminster. There's 3 food providers in Maldon. We've got the Elam Church, we've got the Salvation Army, and we've got the CAF. And we've got the food that's being done by Heybridge Parish Council and Maldon Town Council, all being supported by Essex County Council. So I think when we're looking at it, what our biggest thing is, we don't think it should be done in the council offices. We think we should be helping those food banks that already exist to be able to give out more food to the people that need it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stilts. Councillor Hull.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I deal with quite a few people that have these food hampers, and they're really great and they're really grateful. But my attitude is, if if we try and teach these people to either grow their own vegetables and food or whatever, and trying to teach them to cook, that is a big point of it also. That was just one point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other than Councillor Morris, are there any other speakers, Tara?
Chairman.
Yeah, me.
You've already spoken on the amendment, Councillor Durham, so I'm not going to allow you to unless you want to clarify something.
Well, Chairman, yes, I do want to clarify because of things I've heard. Thank you very much for your indulgence. Chairman, nobody has said that this is not short term. This is a long term requirement. The vaccination centre won't be there forever. It probably won't be there after September. And we're going to have a building where there's lots of room unallocated. And I go back to my original point and say that the council office is a very central hub. It's also completely surrounded by domestic dwellings, a lot of old people in flats, probably some food bank users. And nobody has said that it can't be staffed by volunteers. I'm sure there are lots of volunteers more than happy to come and help. And in terms of distribution, remember, Chairman, we have the Viking bus based at the council offices that goes all over the Dengie, and the Viking drivers are voluntary. So we already have a voluntary service operating out of our council offices. So it makes perfect sense, because the Viking bus potentially could be used to deliver an outreach service. So, Chairman, I'm afraid that I disagree with a lot of the other speakers, because I feel that the council offices, if there is sufficient room, is a perfectly good location. Chairman, on just one final point, I should have declared an interest in my funding for the Haybridge Food Bank, but I'm also an ambassador for the Country Food Trust, which distributes free meals to the food bank. So I apologise for missing that earlier.
All right, thank you very much. And finally, Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got quite a bit to say. I'll try and get quick as possible.
Sorry, Chairman, just to interrupt. Councillor Miss Beale and Councillor Mrs. Channer have also got their hands up. Sorry, Chairman. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Morris.
Councillor Channer. Thank you. Councillor Channer has already spoken on this. Councillor Miss Beale.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm all in agreement with all of this, and I am erring on the side of the amendment. But I'd really like to know I'd like to hear from Councillor Morris, what sort of resources does he say that the council can provide?
Okay, thank you very much. So, Councillor Morris, so it's your turn now to speak, but you do have 3 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that needs any more information? I thought there was another councillor that was waiting to speak.
No, they've already spoken, so I'll go to you next.
Chairman,
point of clarification.
Chairman, Councillor Channer actually wanted to speak, and with all due respect, you allowed Councillor Durham to come back, so it's only fair that you allow Councillor Channer to speak. And I possibly would like to speak, depending if I'm allowed, after Councillor Morris. Thank you, Chair.
Clarification point. What is your
clarification
reason, please,
Councillor? Councillor Morris said he's got the information. I think I alluded to earlier. I wanted to know how the council could do it. I made the point about the cab, but could the council do it? Councillor Morris said he's got that information, but I don't know, Chairman, if an officer can assist. But I'm, I agree with lots of things everyone said, and I said I've got sympathies with the motion. I've heard the amendment, which I think is very sensible, actually, hearing everything now. And I think what Councillor Boyce actually said is extremely sensible, because obviously the way this discussion's going, I think everyone has got a leaning to obviously the food bank proposal, but recognising there's a lot going on as well. And just to say the other food banks, Home Start's involved in some of the food for vulnerable families as well, and they do deliver. So I think there's been a couple of points on the table, and clarification is, Councillor Boyce said about whichever way becomes a substantive motion, could we perhaps say goes back to a committee? Because I think maybe we do need to have some officer input, because if we go down the road of saying the council offices and then we haven't got the resources or the ways, it's the practicalities. I think there's a lot of principles here, but it's the practicalities, Chairman. So the amendment, I think, is the one where people perhaps see as being the most viable at the moment of what's being said.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Bird, is it possible to have the amendment up on the screen, please, so that we can
yes,
so
Chairman,
that we can see?
give me a second.
Thank you very much.
I can do that.
Okay, so Councillor Stan, did you want to come in before Councillor Morris?
If Councillor Morris wants to speak last, I don't mind.
Lady first, please.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Excellent debate. I totally agree with the majority of what everybody's said, and I certainly agree with Councillor Boyce and Channa and the other members about resources. Can we suggest a paper is brought back to council at some stage, or a committee with a feasibility which actually answers all members' questions, Chairman? Because you can't design a policy or set a policy at a council meeting now. It's just impractical, or whatever the saying is, Chairman. So I don't know if that could be amended depending on what Councillor Morris says, Chairman, but I think that's the way forward. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Morris.
Thank you very much. I'll try and get through this as quick as I can. I've not just plucked this out of thin air and brought it up to council. I've actually got quite a history in helping out vulnerable and vulnerable people that need food banks. Everyone's saying that there are other smaller food banks going. Most of them are food pantries. They're not actually proper food banks. The Wants Road one, and whilst I must stress that I do not, I'm not pouring scorn on anything that anyone else has done previously. It's just quite simply that they're inadequate. What we've currently got in this district is inadequate. Wants Road is open for, I think, 3 or 4 hours once a week. There is no parking. The access isn't too brilliant. I was told that Fallbridge do food parcels. You can't even get a phone number for them. We've got the CVS. I spent some time on the phone today finding out what they could do as someone that might need a food parcel. CVS didn't have a clue. They put me onto the Trussell Trust, which are the pinnacle of food bank charities that are here. Now, the Trussell Trust, if you go on their website, they'll send you to Chelmsford to get a food bank. Maldon needs a food bank that is accessible, visible and reliable. We have got these smaller pantries that are doing their best, and I take nothing away from them whatsoever, but we've got a massive problem here. We've got over 60,000 residents, and if you work on sort of like the national figures, 10% of those at minimum will be in poverty. That's 6,000 people, and for the amount of hours, we've got 6,000 people in the district that are in poverty that are going to tiny little pantries that are open for a few hours a week, for 1 day a week. We simply need to open something that is accessible, that is visible, and that is reliable. And that, I believe, should be in the council offices. Now, I thank Councillor Durham for supporting me, and I hope that more of you listen to him. I'd like to say that Councillor Mays has said about identifying the food banks. Nobody can find the food banks. Councillor Mays spoke to me about what other food banks were in Maldon, and I was the one that had to point out to her that there was a pantry at Wants Road. We simply aren't providing our vulnerable residents with enough. We need to take this like a bull by the horns, and we need to help our vulnerable residents. There's no question that we haven't got the money, as this was pointed out to us by the Conservatives at the budget meeting. We can dip into our reserves. There are grants from Essex County Council and everywhere. We need to find solutions, not come up with problems. Okay. We should put a food bank into Maldon District Council offices as quickly as we can, and we should all get on board. There are not enough councillors doing enough work for the vulnerable residents in the district, And regardless of what everyone says here, because I will be requesting a recorded vote for this, the residents will be judging us on whether or not we are prepared to help the vulnerable people. Whilst we are wasting our time and dragging our feet, there are people that need help that will be starving.
Okay, I think you've made your point, Councillor Morrison. I'm great.
Mate, but I'll shut my mouth because I'll get myself in trouble. Oh, can I just make one last point, please?
Yes.
Councillor Boyce was going on about horses and camels. Well, you know, it just reminded me, he's talking about horses and camels. I thought I'd just mention that you're not supposed to talk to dogs about bones. You're not supposed to talk to rats about cheese. And I would not like to speak to snakes about kindness.
All right.
I
Okay.
would just like to go to a vote.
Thank
I'm not
you.
supporting the amendment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to take the vote now. I think this has been well debated. Tara, could we just have the amendment up on the screen again, please?
Yes, Chairman, no problem. Chairman, just advised councillors Miss White, Councillor Mays, Councillor Stamp have got hands up.
Right, I'll take Councillor White because the others have already spoken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for indulging me. I mean, I just wanted to say that although I love the idea of it in principle, we do have a lot of other food banks, but I do think we also need to take heed of what the leader suggested in actually seeing how much this is going to cost, not just notionally, but also actual costs. And also whether, as somebody else mentioned, whether we can actually get the food into these banks, because there are a lot of other food banks. So yes, it's a lovely idea, but I don't think that it should be decided tonight. I think it should come back with a full feasibility study. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. Now, Councillor Mays, it is your motion, so you are entitled to come back finally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I take a bit of offence at some of what has been said and tabled at some members here. I know that there are members across both parties, all parties, who do an awful lot with regard to homeless people, people in need, people who have to use food banks and all of those things. And I do take offence at that. And actually, I feel very angry about what was said because it's a very unfair thing to say. I have worked tirelessly over Christmas and the New Year, and this amendment that was made was done for the benefit of the district, of the people that actually need the service. And I actually would like to make a further amendment to the original amendment, and that is to look at getting the Trussell Trust involved, which, as another member pointed out, is the pinnacle of food bank operators, and they don't just look at the food that it is needed on the streets, but also the supporting services, anything that is provided by CAB. If Home Start is needed, if GPs are needed on site, it will look that organisation has such a good reputation nationally, and I would like to make the amendment that the Trussell Trust is brought in to look at how we can develop the services that we have across the district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do I have a seconder for my second amendment, the amendment to the amendment?
Councillor Helm, I'll second that.
Sorry, Thompson, yes, lots of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Councillor Helm and Councillor Thompson. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, so if there is any further debate, it has to be on the amendment. Are we able to get some wording for that, please, Ms. Bird?
Yes, Chairman, I can. Can I just ask Councillor Mays just to confirm the wording again that she wants to be added, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tara. I think it needs to go in probably where it says this support may include offering assistance via website publicity as well as promoting a multi-agency approach to community needs, and the involvement of the Trussell Trust in discussions to improve the services district-wide.
Chairman, could we tag on to that a report comes back to council, please? A report needs to come back to council. No disrespect to amendments to a motion. This council has to make that decision, and we can't make decisions without having all the information, Chairman. So
No,
if Councillor Mays will allow that the report and feasibility, what Councillor White, Councillor Channer, Councillor Boyce and everybody said, I think that is the best way forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I would have come back to you, Councillor Stamp, because obviously with another amendment, you can speak only on the amendment. Councillor Thompson, is this on the amendment?
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Chairman. I'm beginning to wonder what I'm doing with these buttons. Sorry, I think Councillor Mays had a brilliant idea, which is why I stuck my hand up. But ultimately, this, we can't design a system right now here in this virtual chamber. I think getting the Trussell Trust involved is a fantastic idea, but obviously it's got to come back as a report to council. So can we get officers to talk to the Trussell Trust and bring us a report back so we don't go through the whole rigmarole twice?
Okay. Well, what we'll do is
we need to know exactly what resources the council could provide, and we need advice on the best way to use it. And that sounds to me like our officers talking to the Trussell Trust. I don't know, a nod from Councillor Mays would be.
We'll just get the words up, and then I think we'll go to the vote.
Chairman.
I'm sorry, I can't see who that is.
Chairman, it's
Yes.
Councillor Morris. Yeah, can I ask for a recorded vote on this one, please? And could you indulge me for 30 seconds, please?
Yes, you can talk on the amendment, yes.
Yeah, I'm fully in support of having the Trussell Trust in, but I would like to remind members that if they go to the Trussell Trust website right now and tap in Maldon Food Bank, they will get sent to Chelmsford. What I am trying to say is that if we have something that is central to Maldon and is available and accessible to the whole district, it will benefit the whole district.
Okay, we're just talking on the amendment at the moment. I'm only taking questions on that. Leader?
Chairman, we have listened to Councillor Morris, and the amendment will include the report coming back. The officers will put a full and comprehensive report through. So can I reassure Councillor Morris that even if it goes to Chelmsford, the officers won't just go, oh, it's gone to Chelmsford, I'm not going to do anything, Chairman and Councillor Morris. The officers will provide a balanced report back to this council, to Councillor Morris.
Councillor Stamp, I'm saying that if a resident from the district goes to the Trussell Trust and taps in Maldon Food Bank, the closest one is Chelmsford. So, I'm not saying it's going to Chelmsford officers or anything like that. I'm saying that as far as the Trussell Trust is concerned, we have no food bank. And as Councillor Mays earlier stated, and as I've confirmed, the Trussell Trust are the people that we need to get involved in this. We need something that is accessible, that is visible and is reliable. Currently, we've got little pantries that are not coping.
Okay, Ms. Bird, are we able to get that wording up now, please? Sorry, I realise you're probably typing away furiously at the moment.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councillor Mays.
I think I have to actually include a slight amendment to my amendment to include the report from officers.
Okay, I think we're just typing that in.
Can I remind everyone, it was only a pledge to get one started so that we could actually stop getting our teeth into it. I'm not against officers being involved in it or anything. It's merely a pledge that we actually do something rather than drag our feet.
Okay, that's fine. So we have, members, you should be able to see the proposed amendment, which I think, do I have a seconder for that further amendment?
Seconded, Nick Schemes.
Councillor Schemes, thank you very much indeed. So the amendment is...
Can it be enlarged? It's very small print.
Could we?
I can't even see it.
Okay. So in view of the current difficulties our community faces, Maldon District Council pledges to continue working with outside agencies to identify and support our existing food banks whilst investigating whether more food banks are needed within the district. This support may include offering assistance via website publicity, as well as promoting a multi-agency approach to community needs and the involvement of the Trussell Trust in discussions to improve the services district-wide, and that a report be brought back to the council to provide further details. So that has been proposed and duly seconded. And Tara, can you take the vote, please, for this proposal?
I cannot see the amendment, Chairman. The amendment hasn't come up. All I've got is a picture of Miss Bird.
It's just been read out to you, mate.
I'm looking at it now. The screen is shared. I've just read it out.
I'll put a copy of it in the chat as well, so that hopefully Councillor Morris will be able to see that.
Chairman, can I ask a question for clarity, please?
Yes, if it is, but I want to move to the vote on this, but go ahead.
I just wondered if you could clarify when the next meeting of full council is, because listening to Councillor Morris, this is a very urgent situation that we're dealing with here. So could you please clarify when next full council is? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Floker. We've got 1 in 4 children in this district is in poverty, and you're trying to tell me we need to identify that they need help. 1 in 4 children in this district.
I think it is May the 13th.
Chairman, with respect, I think the proposal is May the 20th.
That's a separate report.
Chairman, could we have an emergency council, an extraordinary council if need be? As soon as the information is available, could I ask that we actually meet? Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to go to the vote now. Tara, could you?
Chairman, may I just have a point of clarification on the amendment?
I'm not going to take any more. I'm sorry. I'm going to go to the vote on this.
Clarification on the amendment.
We have had a request for a recorded vote. Is that seconded?
Yes, it's seconded.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, could you take a vote, please, for or against this amendment?
Thank you, Chairman. So, members, that's to vote as per the amendment that was put up on the screen. If you could just indicate for, against or abstain when I call your name, starting with Councillor Bassinger, please.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Miss Beale.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Brian Beale.
It won't come on. Did you get that? 4, please.
4. Thank you, Councillor Beale. Councillor Bell.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Channer.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Durham.
I couldn't support the first amendment, but I will support this if we can get things moving quickly. Thank you. So 4.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edwards. Councillor Mrs. Fleming.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Fluker.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Helm, sorry.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Hull.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Keys.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
4.
Councillor Mays.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Morley. Oh, sorry, he's not present. Councillor Morris.
Too little, too late. Feeling very ambushed. Against.
Thank you. Councillor Nunn.
As long as we can move forward quickly, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Siddle.
4.
Councillor Skeens.
Speed is of the essence. 4.
Stamp.
4.
Councillor Stilts.
4.
Swain.
4.
Mrs. Thompson.
4.
Councillor Miss White.
4.
Thank you. Chairman, that's 25 for, 1 against and no abstentions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I declare that as agreed then. Thank you, Councillor Morris, for bringing this matter to the attention of the council. And I do hope that we can move
the
things.
Presidents will see what you did tonight, guys. Bye.
Right, agenda item number 11 is questions in accordance with Procedure Rule 6.3, which notice has been given. And I can advise that we have not received any questions in accordance with this rule. I'll move on now to agenda item number 12. And this is the corporate plan update. This is found on pages 41 to 68. In a moment, I'll call on the leader to present this item. So members, a reminder that if you wish to speak on this item, please make this known by using the hands up function in the meeting, and then I'll come to you in turn. Please make your points clear and succinct. Leader, please introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep, the purpose of the report is quite clear, is to seek approval for an update on the Maldon District Council corporate plan. I'm sure you've all read it and highlighted some of the excellent work that we're actually building on from the previous corporate plan. It has been reduced in the number of, I think there was 31 or something, it's been reduced down. But I think it's absolutely excellent, members. I'm sure you've read the whole report and all the corporate plan and the strategies and things that's going to change within it or slightly be amended. I'm going to actually hand over to Mr. Dodson in a minute, but before I do that, I'm actually going to put the recommendation, Mr. Chair, and the recommendation is that members consider and approve the Maldon District Corporate Plan 2021 to 23 as set out in Appendix 1. Do I have a seconder for my proposal, please, Mr. Chair?
Seconded.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I hand over to Mr. Dodson, please, and he can give members a little bit more update on there if they've not had a chance to read through it in great detail. Mr. Dodson.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. Further to the Leader's introduction of the plan, I wanted to also highlight that this is an update of the current 2019 to 23 plan, distilling some of the outcomes, providing focus and reflecting the changes we've seen over the last 2 years. The corporate plan is a document and statement of intent that needs to be owned by the whole organisation and delivered through a constructive working relationship between council members and officers of the council. So I'm very pleased that this updated plan includes the statement of core shared values, which I think is a really important addition, and we'll be able to embed those values with both members and staff. The plan has been kept simple and to the point, and I think it gives a clear focus for the next 2 years, drawing out emphasis on economic growth and recovery, community health and well-being, and to focus on the environment in our place outcomes. The plan also maintains the focus on the importance of performance and value, delivering effectively and using resources efficiently. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. So we've had the recommendation that has been duly seconded, so we can now discuss that, and I'll now invite members to make any comments. Tara, has anyone indicated that they wish to speak, please?
Yes, Chairman, Councillor Fluker has his hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fluker.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Mr. Dodson's taken my words when he said simple to the point, and I think that whoever put this together, whilst they've brought together some very, very important new issues that they've identified, it is incredibly simple to the point, and I would urge all members to support this recommendation and the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fluker. Any other speakers at all? Ms. Bird.
Chairman, Councillor Mrs. Channer, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Channer.
Thank you. Well, Councillor Fluker has said it in a way, and I just want to say I'm glad it is an update and not a total rewriting at this stage, because I think that's very sensible, and I can see it's been very well thought out, and also the members' engagement. And I do notice, of course, there's been other involvement with the staff and businesses, I think it was businesses, trying to remember the surveys that were done in 2020. So I think it's been a good fielding and collection of views, and to know that there is, if you like, the staff and other sort of outside bodies, for want of a better word, involved in this, a lot as well with the members. And from what I've read and the whole lot, although you can't remember it all just through one reading, I think it does capture actually the essence of what the council feels. And I do agree with the shared values coming in, very much so, because I think apart from in the constitution where we might have things and elsewhere, I think it doesn't hurt to have a reminder of the culture that needs to be within the authority and have those shared values. And I think having it there, because officers will look at it regular, as will members, I think it really drums the essences of those benefits of the values we should operate by, reminds us every day when we're looking at it. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Channer. Are there any other speakers at all, please, Tara?
No, Chairman, nobody else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In that case, I will move to the vote. Are members happy to agree this piece of work by assent?
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We'll move on now to agenda item 13. This is the Wickham Bishop's Neighbourhood Plan decision on examiner's report. This is found on pages 69 to 130. Again, I will call on the leader to present this item. And once again, if you wish to speak, use the hands up function, and then I will come to you. Please keep your points clear and succinct. Leader, please present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm more than happy to present this report to Council. It's the Wickham Bishop Neighbourhood Plan decision on examiner's report. It's to inform members and seek their approval for the recommendations made in the examiner's report, Appendix 1, on the Wickham Bishop's Neighbourhood Plan, and to seek member approval for the neighbourhood plan to proceed to referendum. Chairman, I'll read each recommendation out in turn, if that's okay. Little 1, little 2 and little 3. Is that okay, Chair?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you, Leader.
Right. The examiner's modification be agreed, and that subject to these modifications, the neighbourhood plan meets the basic conditions and other legislative requirements. Little 2, that the draft decision statement attached at Appendix 2 be approved to be published on the Council's website. And little 3, that the Wickham Bishop's Neighbourhood Plan be agreed as modified and proceeds to a local referendum based on the boundary of Wickham Bishop's neighbourhood area as recommended by the examiner. I'd like to propose that, members, and can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Mays.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mays, thank you very much. OK, so we can now further discuss this.
Chairman, shall I invite, sorry, Chairman, I was quick to shut off my microphone, do apologise. Should I hand this now to Mr Dodson to give members a little bit of update on this before Councillor Channer comes in, because I see that she's got her hand up.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. Mr Dodson.
Thank you, Chairman. Not a great deal to add, to be honest. I mean, the report informs members of and seeks their approval for the recommendations made in the examiner's report on the Wickham Bishop's Neighbourhood Plan, and seeks members' approval for the neighbourhood plan to proceed to referendum. The report does set out the purpose of the neighbourhood plan and the role of Maldon District Council as the local planning authority. And having considered each of the recommendations made in the examiner's report and the reasons for them, officers believe that the examiner has undertaken a fair and robust examination of the submitted neighbourhood plan and recommend that the council accept all of the examiner's modifications to the draft plan. Wickham Bishop's Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group has advised that it has agreed with the modifications recommended, and the Parish Council voted to accept the examiner's amendments on the 2nd of March this year. Subject to the Council's approval, the plan can then move to referendum, and this would take place alongside the elections on the 6th of May. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr Dodson. I believe we have two speakers, Councillor Channer and Councillor Jarvis. So Councillor Channer first, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Well, I wholeheartedly support the recommendation, And I'd just like to say, and I know this, and I know Councillor Stamp will, or the leader will, because Burnham have got one, and I'm aware of other areas. And I applaud actually parish councils that go through this process and do this, working with the communities, coming together, or the community doing it and working with the parish, because it does take a lot of time and effort. However, I do think it is worth it in the long run, because they've been through the examination. Should this all be agreed tonight, they can have the referendum, and a neighbourhood plan is a material consideration in the planning process. So I applaud what Wickham Bishops has done, and the work they've applied to this, and the fact they've accepted the modifications. That really shows that we really should support this recommendation, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Channer. Councillor Jarvis.
Thank you, Chairman. Just before I make a comment, I should I think disclose I am as a pecuniary interest, non-pecuniary interest. I am of course a Wickham Bishops parish councillor. So if that could just be recorded, I'm sorry if I didn't do that at the beginning of the meeting. But I'd just like to say, having said that, yes, I mean it's an excellent report. They've taken everything on board. A huge amount of work has gone into producing the document, as they do for all parishes. I think the recommendations are good, and they've taken on board obviously the comments of the professional advisors. And I'd like wholeheartedly to recommend, if I may, to the council the report before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jarvis. Tara, are there any other people wishing to speak, please?
Chairman, yes, I've got Councillor Durham, Councillor Swain wanting to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durham.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. I'd like to congratulate Wickham Bishops Parish Council on getting over the line thus far. They were in a bit of a race with Alting and Langford on their neighbourhood plan, but Wickham Bishop seem to have had the rub of the green, let's call it that, and their hard work and dedication has pulled off. I sincerely hope it goes through. I sincerely hope that the value of a neighbourhood plan doesn't get diluted with the proposed planning white paper, but there's nothing we can do about that. But no, I wholeheartedly support it. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durham. Councillor Swain.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm concerned about the timing of a referendum. If it's to be when the local elections are, then I fear it will be a very low turnout, and it needs 50% to be approved. I think some consideration should be given to when you can, to giving time to people to and the opportunity to carry out a a more fruitful referendum a bit later than May.
Thank you for that. Mr. Dodson, did you want to come back on anything at all?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I understand there's a time limit on when this has to be go to referendum following approval.
Can't hear.
And I think that's 56 days. So that would actually be an earlier referendum under normal circumstances, and it will be delayed because of the current restrictions on elections, May the 6th being the first date that it could happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers at all, please, Tara?
Chairman, can I just add then, if there is a strict time limit and one wants to ensure greater participation, is there a case for actually postponing formal approval?
Are you able to answer that, Mr. Dodson?
Thank you. Yes, Chairman. I don't believe that's in our gift.
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear.
I don't believe that is in our. Is that better?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. I don't believe that that's in our gift to delay it. There's a statutory process that's set out. It is in front of us now to approve, and it needs to be. We need to make a decision on it so that it can then continue through the statutory process.
Thank you. I think that hand has been extinguished now. Any other speakers at all, please, Tara?
Chairman, Councillor Stamp's got a hand up, please. Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry, I can't see that hand. Councillor Stamp, leader.
Chairman, can I ask Mr. Lee, I know it's a different officer who normally knows about the neighbourhood plan, and forgive me, I should know, because like what Councillor Chan has said, we've gone through it at Burnham. But it's the number of people who vote percentage-wise who agree with it, not the number of votes, isn't it? Unless I've totally lost my mind. Because I think it can be, I can remember in Burnham, I'm sure it was only 29 or 33% turned out, but it was a number of people who supported it. Sorry, Mr. Lee, I've jumped on your thunder there, but I just thought it'd be better if you could confirm that to reassure the members.
Are you able to respond, Mr. Lee?
I know there is a percentage about the vote. To be honest, I was actually in the process of trying to double check it and ask if your members wish to leave that with me. I can double check that online. I don't want to give anything off the cuff that's incorrect. But Mr. Dodson raised his hand, so he might actually have the answer himself.
Yeah, Mr. Dodson.
It's included in the report.
Yes, exactly. It's included in the report on page 74, point 7.7. Following referendum, if more than 50% of those voting vote yes, then the neighbourhood plan must be made within 8 weeks of the referendum. So that answers it, that it is 50% of those voting, not 50% of the electorate.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Any further questions, Tara?
No, Chairman, that's everyone, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In that case, I will now go to the vote. There seems general support for this. Are we able to agree that by assent, please?
Agreed.
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 I couldn't quite count 31, but I think that was all agreed. Thank you. We next move to agenda item 14, which is future committee meetings options. Again, I will refer to the leader to present this item. Again, members, if you wish to speak, please be clear and succinct. Leader, please introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if you will allow me to ask Mr. Dodson if there has been any legal update from when the report was written from central government. Has anything changed before I present this report, Mr. Chairman? Am I allowed to ask that, please?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Dodson. Yeah, I think for a point of clarity, I think we should know that if there is.
Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm there's been no change, and as things currently stand, on the 6th of May, the legislation will end, allowing us to operate remote meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Dodson, and thank you, Chairman. So obviously the purpose of the report is to update the members of the approach of options for council and committee meetings from the 6th of May 2021, when the current remote meeting legislation expires. The recommendations, Mr. Chair, are little 1, that members review the details set out in this report and are assured that officers are doing all they can to scope future options with the limited information provided. And little 2, that final decision of the future approach to meetings be delegated to the Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance in consultation with the leader. I'd like to make that as a proposal, and will somebody second my proposal, please?
Councillor Mays.
Councillor Mays, thank you.
I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Dodson, who's put the report together. Members have actually had all the risk assessment, all the options. I think Mr. Dodson and his team have looked into this at great length, and I know it's a very difficult situation, Chairman, and we all are hoping that central government will allow some sort of hybrid meetings before. And I want to reassure members that if things do change, it will change straight away. Mr. Dodson and the team directors have assured me that if it changed, this will not stay as it is. Those decisions and council could carry on meeting, whether it be a hybrid type meeting. But I'm going to hand over to Mr. Dodson because I've spoken a bit too much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dodson.
Thank you, Chairman. As the leader said, as things currently stand, on the 6th of May, the legislation allowing for remote meetings will cease. In the short term, if these powers are lost after the 6th of May, we'll be in the impossible position of not being able to hold meetings remotely, but also having to restrict the number of councillors that attend in-person meetings to adhere to social distancing requirements. We and many other local government colleagues have conveyed our disappointment in this to central government. and there's an ongoing High Court challenge that seeks to ensure the online remote meetings can continue. But as of now, we're having to review alternative options for committee meetings. With unvaccinated staff and members and expectations around social distancing space, there are many risks and costs involved in physical meetings, as set out in Appendix 1. As of today, we don't currently have a space that could host all 31 members for a socially distanced physical meeting and also meet the other requirements that we need to do in terms of IT, etc., or all of the sound recording, etc. As the landscape and guidance is continuously changing, this report outlines the current work and further details on the options, and requests that a final decision is delegated to MES Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance in consultation with the leader. In seeking that delegation, I want to assure members that we will do our utmost to ensure we're able to continue with meetings, online or physical meetings, but that whatever solution we reach will be in keeping with the social distance guidelines and will prioritise the safety of officers, members and the public. And I firmly believe the best option would be the extension of the current legislation to enable online meetings until such time as we can reconvene safely in the council chamber. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, I think I've got, I can see some hands, but I can't see who they are. Tara, could you tell me who wishes to speak, please?
Yes, of course, Chairman. Councillor Lagan, Councillor Fluker, Councillor Mrs Thompson, Councillor Mrs Fleming, Councillor Swain, Councillor Miss White. Thank you, Chairman.
I think I did manage to get all of those. Thank you. So the motion has been proposed and seconded, so we can discuss it further. I'll go first to Councillor Lagan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is a really difficult situation, isn't it? It's like trying to pre-guess something that will have to change. Otherwise, central government stops, local government stops at each level, because we find ourselves in an impossible position where nobody can meet in any forum. Therefore, my belief is that the government will make an amendment to the legislation and at that point give us some clarity. And the logical solution has to be a hybrid solution. However, having said that, there's some concerns that I had. For consistency, I was vehemently against the previous process where the leader and the officers were making the decisions and excluding members, therefore excluding the views of other people within the areas. And that's from every political persuasion, or those of us that are non-political. It limits the representation, although I do understand things have changed in that type of space. I firmly believe the recommendation to little one is absolutely true and sound. I think that the officers are doing all they can with regard to looking at the options, but I'm concerned when I looked at the risk assessment for the recommendations. There's no detail of how those decisions are made. They're made on assumptions. There are buildings that are available, and I have a bit of disappointment that we haven't been on the case earlier on looking at, hang on, if this stopped, what would it take for us to meet social distancing? Because there is a 1 metre plus mitigation rule in place, which means you don't need as much space as what people think. We're talking about static social distancing, not dynamic social distancing, which is a whole different kettle of fish. The hands, face, space message can work and people can meet and engage with each other in safety. So from that perspective, I disagree. And I regrettably, I don't feel I can support the recommendation to hand over, and I firmly feel we should look at off-site meetings and even the chamber with regard to sizing and social distancing, and come back with an actual detailed summary because others do it. It can be done. I've been working in a business that's kept people safe since day one of this awful pandemic, and it's just a view that I have. So I think it can be done. We need to show the residents we can do it. It will be scary. Let's base no odds. It will be challenging, but we can do it and we should do it. So I'm vehemently against the handing over as we did in the past. Thank you, members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lagan. Councillor Fluker.
Thank you, Chairman. I think at a previous meeting I may have misheard something that Councillor Lagan said, so I apologise for that. But I don't think I misheard what he said tonight. So I think, just for clarity, when we went into emergency powers before, it actually included a Leader of the Opposition as well. But Chairman, I am, like Councillor Lagan, concerned about this. I mean, the government has left us in a very difficult position. The Prime Minister has said this evening that there will be no easing until the 12th of April. Now that leaves a lot of time between now and the 12th of April. Later on this evening, I think we'll be deciding whether or not to hold the statutory annual meeting on the 20th of May. That is a very big gap. So, Chairman, through you, my question is actually to the leader, to ask the leader that when we actually know something, whether or not she will be prepared, with your support, Chairman, to call an extraordinary meeting of Council so we can agree what we're going to do, particularly bearing in mind that the statutory annual meeting is very close. Thank you, Chairman. I suppose I'm making a proposal, really. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm rather hoping the leader's going to make it. So, as the leader said earlier, I'll shut up now. Thank you.
I will come.
Do you want to answer that? Or should we? Sorry, Chairman. Sorry. Do you want me to answer that? I think Councillor Fluker knows that she, the leader, will call an extraordinary meeting if it changes. It goes without saying. And Councillor Fluker, I'm sure you would have done the same previously when you was the leader. It's for the benefit of our residents and the councillors. And yes, rest assured that as soon as things change, I tried to allude to that when I did the speech at the beginning, Mr. Chairman. If things change, the officers are well aware. The officers have worked so hard. There's been letters going to government, to ministers, the district councils network. Councillor Fluker knows all this when he was the leader. There's a bigger network and they've all tried to facilitate to get the government to listen to us. So yes, of course, Councillor Fluker, and you can please make the amendment yourself.
Well, Chairman, if you allow me to come back, I'll make the proposal now, and I'll call for a seconder, and I'm sure, Chairman, that the leader will second that, because I think we do need to have this debate, and it may appease Councillor Morris, because we could have food banks on the agenda as well. Thank you.
Councillor Helm, I'll second that.
I'll second that, Thompson.
He hasn't made it yet, Chairman. He hasn't made it yet.
Yeah, what amendment, please, Chair and Councillor?
What is the proposal, Councillor Fluker?
Well, Chairman, I think it's going to almost have to be as woolly as the government's advice on all of this, insofar as the fact that, Chairman, at the discretion of the, or not at the discretion, but at the request of the leader and at the discretion of the chairman, that once we have some more information, we will call an extraordinary meeting of this council to consider what is best for the council. Thank you.
Seconded.
I'm sure that, as the leader has intimated, that will take place. So I have noted that. I have noted it's been seconded. I will just take the other speakers first. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I think I might have been overtaken by events, Chairman, but I was going to ask that should we end up with recommendation little 2, could, as Councillor Fluker suggested, could the Leader of the Opposition be included, because that's not far off half the council, and it was what we did on the decisions to, when we went into this awful situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Chair. My gut feeling is that something will be done by central government and something will go forward. But just in case that doesn't happen, I personally would like to go back to the chamber. I voted against emergency powers last March. I think there's an important democratic principle at stake. So without an amendment to little 2, I won't be able to support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Swain.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, 1 or 2 points really. Some of them to be borne in mind by the directors, perhaps when trying to sort out a way forward. But the crucial thing that's missing is we don't seem to have any idea of what is the number that the chamber could accommodate, and I wonder whether a serious analysis has been undertaken of what the chamber could accommodate. Because if it can accommodate, say, 10 councillors, then most of the committees could function in the chamber. And when it comes to something like a district planning committee, that could be composed of a number from each of the area groups. I also wonder whether they could look at the possibility that though not officially in existence, for the purposes of coming to what you say, acceptable decisions, whether virtual groups of the members of individual committees could take place in a sort of advisory capacity before the directors make any decisions of importance. I agree with that point that it probably ought to be more than just the leader, and perhaps it should be 3 or 4 people that should be consulted if we do have to go to that extreme situation. The other, as far as council is concerned, we could look at somewhere for an occasional. It would only be council itself which would need to meet as 30 people. As I say, the others could be, the district planning could be condensed, and if the chamber can accommodate, say, 10 people, then most of the committees could function properly. The other element that has been left entirely out of consideration is the public. Participation and involvement by the public is obviously much greater with the virtual meetings, and the more we shrink down to delegated powers and so on, the less the public know what is going on. And I think that is an important thing that's being lost, and we need to bear that in mind as one element when one considers restricting member activity. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Councillor Swain. The only thing I would say is I know that the other committees, I think there's 15 on one, 16 on another, so I don't think that I'm not really sure whether Mr. Dodson would be able to assist further on that.
10 or 11.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, they are 10 and 11 now under the changes that were made. But we're doing further work looking at the chamber, but there are fundamental issues with the accessibility, the closeness of the horseshoes to each other in the first place, the positioning of officers and members on the top table if that's what's required, and the access in and out. Excuse me. So, work will continue, and we're continuing to look at all options and to work up more risk assessments and to try and work out what opportunities there are. Sorry, I was going to make another point there, but it's completely slipped my mind. So right. I'll hand back.
I think you've answered the question. Anyway, I'll just go now to Councillor White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak. All I would say is I fall into the clinically vulnerable group, sadly, due to my health. And what I would say is it's all very well talking about physical meetings, but please spare a thought for those of us who would be unable to attend, certainly in the short term. And much as I miss the physical meetings, we need to bear in mind that I'm not going to be the only person who cannot attend any public meetings at all. I mean, since March last year, I haven't been to the hairdressers, or actually since last Christmas, I haven't been to the hairdressers. I think I've been to a supermarket on 3 occasions. I think I've been to a garden centre once, and some of us have really had to stick by this. So please spare a thought for those of us, rather than trying to rush through the physical meetings. Let's wait until the data catches up and it's absolutely safe. We need to keep safe. We need to lead by example, not just rush into physical meetings. And I say, I really miss the physical meetings. I absolutely miss them. It's not the same doing it remotely. You don't feel so involved. But it's a good effort. So let's thank the officers for what they've done. And I support the motion to wait and see what guidance comes forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody who hasn't spoken before, Tara?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
I've got.
So if I could just come back, because it's really relevant to Councillor White's point that she just made. As someone who is also clinically extremely vulnerable, I was overjoyed today to receive a letter from Matt Hancock saying that I can go out again into the community from the 1st of April. So I don't know if that's helpful, members and officers, to know that shielders can now cease shielding from the 1st of April. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara, any other speakers, please?
Yes, sorry, Chairman. Councillor Durham, Councillor Mrs Channer, Councillor Helm, Councillor Stamp, Councillor Lagan, Councillor Fleming, Councillor Nunn. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take those people who haven't spoken on this yet. Councillor Durham.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, you know, we're going to have to be a little bit realistic, and the reason that government haven't come out with anything is that it's not a point that it's not something they don't want to do. It's a point of constitutional law. They're unable by law to make an amendment to the Coronavirus Act 2020, and to take it any further is going to require primary legislation. The Minister, Luke Hall, has gone to the Leader of the House, Jacob Rees-Mogg, and we all know what he's like for constitutional law. And he has said, you can forget it, mate, because there just isn't any parliamentary time. So it's not from a lack of wanting. As I said, it's a legal point. And the Leader is absolutely right. Every organisation under the sun representing local government has been petitioning, saying, what on earth are you going to do? Because after the 6th of May, there is still until the 21st of June at the earliest, the restrictions in place. Now, in terms of what we do, Essex County Council have actually been forward thinking, because it is every councillor's right to appear at full council meetings. So you can't have a hybrid full council meeting. So the chamber at Essex County Council, anybody that knows that, which normally will seat 75 members and with officers there's over 100 people attending, to maintain social distancing, its capacity is only 45. So about 2 months ago, the search went on for alternative locations for its full council, and the cathedral and other large venues have been put forward. So I think we need to start doing that very thing now and identifying a room that we can use and maintain social distancing until such time as social distancing is no longer required. And we have to accept the fact that, as Councillor White has said, even when we are allowed to go back to the chamber, there may be some people reticent to do so. That's inevitable, but that is their choice. They cannot be prevented from going there. So, Chairman, in conclusion, we need to get out now to have our statutory annual meeting and have every member present and find a location that is suitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Channer.
I think Councillor Durham's a mind reader, because he's more or less said everything I was going to, and I'm a Essex County Councillor as well, so obviously I'm aware what County Council has been doing. I think there's the two elements here. We know we've got to continue with the virtual meetings right up until the 6th of May, and that's fine. And Councillor Lagan made points, but also Councillor Durham's really put the facts on the table, and I believe we should be looking at that. And actually, Councillor Swain, you're also a mind reader, because my view is we look for the main council meeting to be outside, in an outside venue. Well, I can think of somewhere where you could have very good social distancing and all 31 members could get in there. And then the committees could be in the council chamber. And I've read the report and it says how much that would cost, really, just to put the perspex and the sanitizer. The committees, I do think there's a way the chamber could be used, and that could be the back seats as well. I mean, we'd have to recognise there might be a bit of changing needed to go on. But I think we're being forced into that route where we have got to really start thinking about that, because nothing's going to change. So we're left there. And I think we've got to start lobbying the MPs. I know we've lobbied the government. I know we've got the LGA on board and other things. But I think Priti Patel and John Whittingdale could help out here. But I do believe for the statutory annual, the 31 members, because that time they'll have had the by-elections, I think we do really need to look at that route. And I appreciate what the leader's saying if there's any changes, but we'll have to wait and see. We've still got a little while to go. And if we move the statutory annual to the 20th of May, which is on the agenda later tonight, we've still got time to play with. Councillor Bell's absolutely correct. The shielders now have been told they need no longer shield. So that's another change in the equation. And I know what Councillor Durham said, but I really do think we've got to do the work and get doing it now. And that's my view. I have vulnerabilities myself, and you've all saw me in the March meeting going with a mask on. I won't have any problem doing that if I'm required to do so. But I think the democracy calls for those being the options, and I'm afraid not the others that are on the sheet that officers done. I'm very grateful to officers for what they're looking at, and it must be a terrible thing for them having to work this out and think and the best way forward. But I do think the public will want to see us all back together, but of course it will have to be done safely, and there's ways I think we can do that outside venue and also internal for committees in our council offices. Thank you
very much. Mr. Dodson, did you want to come back on any of that? Mr. Dodson?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, couldn't find my buttons. Yes, I just wanted to highlight that similarly to county council officers, we acted with foresight too in looking at venues, and we have done significant research looking at what venues may be available. As yet, we've not found anywhere that's ideally suitable with the correct IT, web access, social distancing space, etc. We continue on with that work, and as I said in my introduction, we will continue throughout this process to look for the ideal venues to ensure that we can do that. But I would like to emphasize again a couple of other things. One is that hybrid meetings aren't possible in any context, so we haven't forgotten public access. But if we have public access to face-to-face meetings, that needs to be face-to-face as well. Secondly, we will continue, as I said, looking at all of those options, make sure that we've scoped out all of the venues, looked at those that are available and done those risk assessments, but we will put the safety of members, staff, and the public at the centre of what we do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Helm.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I was listening quite intensely to Councillor Thompson, who suggested the Leader of the Opposition ought to be involved in emergency powers. I'll suggest the leader of the other group be included as well. This happens at CLT meetings, so it'd be quite appropriate and quite widespread for all us to be involved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lagan and Fleming have already spoken on this. I will come to Leader finally, but Councillor Nunn, you're next.
Thank you very much, Chair. Well, I very much hope, like many of you do, or probably all of us do, that the legislation does change. Despite what Councillor Durham has said, I hope that the government do find a way around this and that remote meetings can continue, because I believe that remote meetings have gone very well. And in fact, I think they've increased public participation in the democratic process and in our meetings. Certainly a lot more people seem to be watching via this setup or via YouTube than I used to see actually in the chamber. So I think it has gone well. We've got a bit of a way to go until the 6th of May, but I find myself agreeing with Councillor White. I certainly don't want to physically meet yet. I haven't, from a personal point of view, I haven't even had my first jab yet. So I don't want to meet, but things could change by the 6th of May. But of course, we're not just putting ourselves at risk. As Mr. Dobson said, we would be putting the officers at risk potentially, and if they turn up, members of the general public. I think the report is good, and I support the recommendation, but I think there should be a proviso that the moment there is any change in the regulations that allow us to continue with remote meetings, that these should be these should be the way that we go until things are a lot easier. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we have had that proposal, and it was duly seconded by Councillor Mays. Do we have any wording for that, please, Tara?
Chairman,
on the spot.
Chairman, can I come back as a matter of clarity, because I'm sure that Tara, if she has got what I said, she's probably got a lot of gobbledygook like I've got written in front of me. So, Chairman, what I propose is that I withdraw my proposal and I put the following one, Chairman, which I think is what the leader was prepared to support, and that is, Chairman, that the leader of the council, in conjunction with the chairman, calls an extraordinary meeting to consider options once further information is forthcoming from the government on the process of holding meetings after the 6th of May. I think that covers everything off, Chairman. But, you know, I've reread what the Prime Minister said today, and he really isn't talking about easing anything until at the earliest, the 12th, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. So that, I'm not sure if you were able to get that immediately, Tara, but do I have a seconder for that?
Seconded. I'll second it.
Councillor Thompson, thank you very much. Leader, did you? I was going to come back to you finally.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm afraid I'm going to put my 2 pence in as a personal level here. I certainly agree with Councillors Wood, White and Nunn. I missed my father's funeral, couldn't go to it because of COVID. I've got a sick mother with Alzheimer's. I can't go and see her because of COVID. And I'm very reticent to put my life at risk to go to meetings unless, because nobody can assure you and guarantee that you will not catch COVID. I feel very strongly about this. I too haven't had my jab, and I would not personally, Chairman, and it is emotional, I would not ask anybody to have to attend a face-to-face meeting if they feel vulnerable. And as the leader of this council, we need to take that into account. I am more than happy to extend the little 2 to include Councillors Channer and Helm and another member if they want, Chairman. So we can actually make sure the working and operation of this council continues. But I would be it would take me a lot to attend meetings, Chairman, until it was absolutely safe. We all have families, we all have vulnerabilities, and we can pass it on. You don't know if you're a super spreader. I don't know if I'm a super spreader. I've stayed in, like most of these members have, and we've had these remote meetings. And I'm sorry I've got passionate, Chairman. It's a great deal to me, this. And I think the members have to seriously think about the recommendations on the table, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members, for indulging me.
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. I'm going to. We've still got quite a bit to go through, members. So I'm going to go to the vote. I think this has been well debated.
Record a vote, please, Chair.
Chairman.
Sorry, Chair. Can I just ask Mr. Dodson a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Dodson, which venues have you actually been to look at for a statutory annual?
Are you able to help, Mr. Dodson?
We've been looking at the town council, we're looking at the churches in the area, we're looking at the community centres that are available. There's a whole list, and we're still doing that work as well.
You've actually been to visit, Mr. Dodson?
Personally, I haven't, no, but our facilities, Frank has basically been to do the work, the same person who's doing all of the risk assessments for all of the 45 polling stations that we need to go through the same process with for the election.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got the 3 recommendations, the 2 that are set out beside you, and also a further one that if anything does come to light, that we will recall. We'll have an emergency meeting. Leader.
Chairman,
Yes,
sorry.
Chairman, sorry, Councillor Channer, can we make sure that the recommendations are read out fully? Because I think I made a small amendment to include Councillors Helm and Channer. And that needs to be clear. Sorry, Channer, Councillor Channer.
Oh,
yeah,
no, well, thank you,
could I have those up again, please, Tara? Are you able to do that?
Chairman, I need Councillor Fluker just to read his out. I've got most of it, but not all of it. The rest of it, I believe I've got.
Okay, are you able to read that out at typing speed, Councillor Fluker?
Thank you, Chairman. That the leader of the council, in conjunction with the chairman, calls an extraordinary meeting to consider options once further information is forthcoming from the government on the process of holding council meetings after the 6th of May.
Is that typing speed?
Not my typing speed.
Depends.
Did you manage to get that, Tara?
Almost just the last tiny bit, please, Councillor Fluker, if you don't mind repeating, that'd be lovely.
Not too fast, thank you.
Right, okay, so consider options once further information is forthcoming from the government on the process of holding council meetings after the 6th of May. Sorry.
Chairman, may I have clarification on something?
Yes, go ahead.
The leader just latterly has said she's happy to include other persons. Is that on little 2? I'm just trying to be clear of the recommendations. Yes, so is she saying on little 2?
Yes, I'm just coming to that. It should include the Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance in consultation with the Leader of the Council and the opposition 2 parties. Should that include the Chairman?
Yes.
Leader?
Yes.
And the Chairman. So those are the arrangements as before.
Well, I don't know as before. Would that body then be looking at the options as well? That's what I'm not quite clear on.
That's a final decision on the future approach.
Right. So, OK, they would be involved in looking at the options. I think that's all important. All members know that then.
Chairman, I don't think that's what Councillor Fluker's amendment was.
No, this was your
amendment, Leader.
Yeah, sorry, OK.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Councillor Fluker's was that I would call the meeting, wasn't it?
Okay. What we'll do is we'll get those up.
Yeah, my point is, Chairman.
I don't really want further debate on this because we've got other work to get through for this.
Clarification. What I'm saying is I think the leader means little 2 to add those others to look at the further work.
Yes.
And then should something, I think Councillor Fluker's adding on, that should we get further information from the government, then an extraordinary meeting would be called. So I think little 2 would be looking at the way forward with those persons the leaders proposed. And then should further sort of direction come from the government, the extraordinary meeting will be called. I think that's important. I think that's what the leader's meaning.
I think they're up before us. The 3 options, the 3 recommendations are up here.
Chairman.
Yes, Councillor Swain.
Where does this leave the list of options that were mentioned? Are we not expressing any preference for?
No, final decision. The final this is in recommendation 2. The final decision will be left to the Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance in consultation with the leader, the chairman, leader of the opposition parties. Yeah. And that's what it's saying. And we've also got Councillor Fluker's proposal about calling an extraordinary meeting of the council. So I'm going to ask you to put your hands down now, please, and we'll go for the vote, please, Tara.
Okay, Chairman. And Chairman, there was an indication for recorded vote, but I don't believe that was seconded.
Okay, I've had a request for a recorded vote. I'm trying to recall who it was from. Is it Councillor Lagan?
Councillor Lagan.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that
I'll second that?
Okay.
Councillor Mays.
Okay. We'll go with the recorded vote then, please, Tara.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. So, as per was on the screen, the 3 recommendations. If you could just indicate for, against, or abstain, please. Starting with Councillor Bassinger, please.
Could we put them up on the screen again, please?
Yes. Let me just. There you go, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so starting with Councillor Bassinger, please.
Against.
Thank you, Councillor Miss Beale.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Brian Beale. Councillor Beale.
I think that was 4.
Four.
Microphone
Thank
keeps
you.
dropping
Sorry.
out.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce.
4.
Mrs. Channer.
Chairman, Leader, thank you for putting forward
4,
Councillor Helm and I, and 4. I think that's very good. Thank you.
Councillor Durham.
4.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mrs. Fleming.
Against.
Sorry, forgot me, Tara.
Apologies, Councillor Edwards. I do apologise. Sorry.
4.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Councillor Fluker, please.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
Yes, I'm 4.
Thank you. Councillor Helm.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Hull.
4.
Jarvis.
4.
Councillor Keys.
4.
Councillor Lagan.
Against, please, Tara.
Mays.
4.
Councillor Morris.
I think he's left the meeting.
Councillor Nunn.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Siddle.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Skeens.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Stamp.
Sorry, Tara. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Stilts.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Swain.
Against.
Councillor Mrs. Thompson.
Sorry, 4. I'm losing control of my buttons.
Thank you very
Apologies,
much. Councillor Miss White.
4, please, Tara.
Thank you, Chairman. The results of that are 22 for, 4 against and no abstentions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Therefore, that is agreed. Thank you for that. Thank you, members. We move on now to agenda item 15. These are appointment of representatives to Maldon District Dementia Alliance and the vacancy for the Investigating and Disciplinary Committee. These are found on pages 141 to 146, and in a moment I'll call on the leader to present this item. Members, please use the hands up function for this meeting. If you wish to speak, please keep your points clear and succinct. Leader, please introduce the report.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members, for a really excellent debate on that difficult subject. So thank you very much. This report is to appoint the representative to Maldon District Dementia Action Alliance and Vacant Investigating and Disciplinary Committee seat. So the purpose of the report is to consider the appointment of the representative to serve on the Maldon District Dementia Action Alliance outside body and to ratify the independent group nomination for Investigating and Disciplinary Committee. The recommendations, Mr. Chair and members, are little 1, that the appointment of the representative to Maldon District Dementia Alliance is as detailed in Appendix 1 be agreed for the remainder of the municipal year. And little 2, that the nomination from the independent group that Councillor S.P. Nunn be appointed to the Investigating and Disciplinary Committee be approved. I'd like to put that proposal forward, and can I have a seconder, please? Obviously, we'll have to have a name for little 1, Chairman.
Councillor Helm, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Helm is seconding Councillor Nunn to be on the Investigation and Disciplinary Committee. Are there any other?
Councillor Mays.
For the Dementia, Chairman.
I would like to make a nomination.
I would.
For the Maldon District Dementia.
Right. Councillor Mays, the nomination for the representative for the Dementia Alliance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to nominate Councillor Wendy Stamp as she has personal experience of this and would make a very good representative for the council going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Councillor Nunn, seconded.
Chairman, could I just also say I was going to propose Councillor Anne Beale because for similar reasons.
I understand that we've had a proposal and it has been seconded. If that fails, I'll come back to you, Councillor Channer. The second well, I guess we can take the vote. We can take the vote on that now, if you wish.
Chairman, I know this is going to be slightly, what's the word, not normal, but I actually, can I withdraw? Can Councillor Mays withdraw hers? Because I think Councillor Anne Beale would make an excellent, and it's for the municipal year. So could I request that Councillor Mays withdraws it? Yes, I would like to be on this, but I totally concede that Councillor Beale could also be very good at it. And I'm going to ask for that to happen. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mays, are you prepared to withdraw your second?
Yes, yes, I will, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do I have another proposal then, Councillor Tanner?
Can I just say that's very gracious of the leader to do that. So yes, I stand by what I was going to say, Councillor Anne Beale, for good reasons, Chairman.
Councillor seconded.
Did you get any of that?
Councillor Nunn seconded it.
Councillor Nunn, thank you. Thank you very much. So that is for the first recommendation. Can that be agreed by assent?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Councillor Beale. Do you agree? Do you agree to be being that representative?
Yes, thank you. I'll try and remember that.
Okay. Thank you very much. The second recommendation is that there's a nomination from the independent group that Councillor Nunn be appointed to the Investigation and Disciplinary Committee. Is that
Councillor Mays? I'll second that.
That has been seconded. Are we able to agree that by assent, members?
Yes. Yeah,
Agreed.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers who wish to speak on this?
Excuse me, Chairman. Councillor Morley, just to say
good evening. Morley, yes. Hello, Councillor Morley.
Managed to make it to the meeting, so I'm late, so got here at last. Thank you.
Well, you're still very welcome, so it's good to see you. Thank you. Okay, so those have both been agreed by assent, and we'll move on to agenda item 16.
Any chance for a comfort break, Chairman?
Yes, well said, Councillor Thompson.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Whatever happens, members, this meeting will cease at 9 o'clock. So I'm happy to give you.
Maybe no comfort break.
No, seriously, Councillor Thompson, I second a comfort break.
Yeah.
I
third comfort break.
I'd like that agreed by assent, members.
Agreed. Yes, agreed.
8:12 now. Can we come back at 8:20, please?
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you're back live, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome back, members, colleagues, and members of the public. We've had a short break, and we're now commencing, and I open this meeting again at 2020. We move on to agenda item 16, which is establishing a planning policy working group. In a moment, I'll call on the leader to present this item. Again, members, you know all about the hands up function. Please make sure that you use that. And I do appeal to you to keep your points clear and succinct in order that we can finish and get through the business. Leader, please present your report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Really quickly, members, the purpose of the report is to establish a planning policy working group to consider and inform the work being undertaken on developing the local development plan review and supplementary planning documents as set out in the local development scheme. For ease and quickness, rather than populate, the recommendation, Chairman, is that a planning policy working group of up to 6 members be established. From my position as the leader, I would like to suggest that we have 4 independent members and 2 Conservatives or democratically alliance group members. And that is my proposal, that the group is made of 4 independents and 2 Conservatives or 1 and 1. Do I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Councillor Skean.
Carly Mays.
Thank you.
Right. So that, members, the motion has been seconded for further discussion. Leader, do you have the 4 names available?
Chairman, I actually wasn't going to suggest it because it's been dropped on the other members and they may want to populate it later when they establish with the officer. If Mr. Dodson think that's okay, or Mrs. Holmes, that we can do that. I can give you the names of the independents if you wish, but I think it would be unfair because Councillor Channer hasn't been able to speak or debate on this. So I'd take guidance from Mr. Dodson or Mr. Holmes on this, please.
Okay, Miss Holmes, could you help us out? Are we able to just pass this with 6 members and populate it at a later date? I think if we agree this, the 4 independent members and the 2 other members.
Yeah, I think, Chair, it would be just perhaps to clarify who is going to nominate those members at a future date, and I think you'd need to clarify whether they were going to be 2 Conservatives or 1 from the Conservative group and 1 from the Democratic Alliance group, and then perhaps each of the leaders of those groups that are going to represent could then confirm at a later date who they intend to sit on the working group.
Thank you for that. So we have Councillor Channer. First of all, are you happy for 1 member?
What I was going to say is, Chairman, could I just ask the leader? I was going to suggest 4, 2 and 1. So 4 independents, 2 Conservatives and 1 Democratic Alliance. So the planning policy panel would be increased to 7.
Well, the recommendation is the leaders. Leader?
Stand
6 or 7.
I know I'm very fair, but I would actually ask, no, I won't because it's inappropriate. Councillor Channer, if the shoe was on the other foot, would you do the same for us?
Yeah, I think I would on this because we've had working groups before where we've done it where we have up to number. I know there was one recently where the line was drawn and said no, but yes, I think if you're asking if I was in the leader at that stage and on something like this, I would, because this is a whole district matter. It's a whole planning matter and it's very, very important. So, yeah, I would.
Chairman, oh, crikey, sorry. Chairman, based on that, I totally agree. And I was being a little bit flippant, so you did allow me a little bit of leeway. It is important, and if you allow me and the officers allow me, I will increase it to 1 if I get a seconder on that. And I will concede that we can have 4 independents, 2 Conservatives and 1 Democratic Alliance group, if that is okay to, and I get it seconded, Chairman.
Thompson.
I think that's a yes then, Chairman.
There seems to be a flurry of seconders. Did you get a name from that, Miss Bird?
If you want names from the Conservatives, I can give them.
Chairman, I got a seconder, thank you.
You got a seconder, okay.
Chairman, we don't need to populate. I think it can be done after the meeting.
Well, okay. I can tell you who, if you like. I've got names. I can tell you, I'd like, well, myself, obviously, and Councillor Maddie Thompson.
Okay, Councillor Helm.
Leader of the.
Councillor Helm, do you wish to make your nomination now, or would you like to wait?
I would like to wait, if I please. Thank you.
Okay,
Chairman.
That's fine. Okay, Leader, if you send your names as well to Mr. Dodson, we've got 6 of the 7. Members, can we agree that by assent?
Agreed.
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 Agreed. Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item 17, revision of meeting dates. Leader, would you be able to introduce this report?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members. The purpose of the report is to revise the scheduled statutory annual council meeting date should the council and committee meeting have have provision to go ahead after the 6th of May 2021. The recommendation is that the scheduled statutory annual date is revised to the 20th of May 2021, and little 2 is that the associated area planning committee dates are revised as per section 3.7 below. Before I actually do put the proposal to recommend this, Chairman, Councillor Channer made a very good point at a previous meeting somewhere where she actually pointed out it would have been tight if we'd have stuck to the other one. So I thank her for that. And I hope members do actually agree to actually postpone it and delay it slightly. So that is my recommendation. Do I have a seconder?
Seconder.
Councillor Mays.
Seconder.
Chairman, I don't think, unless Mr Dodson wishes to come in on this, because obviously he doesn't need to speak, but if Mr Dodson wants to, then I'm more than happy for Mr Dodson to speak. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr Dodson, did you want to add anything? I see your head shaking. No. Okay. That's fine. Tara, has anybody else indicated that they wish to speak?
No, Chairman, nobody has.
Thank you. So members, sorry, was that somebody who did?
No, apologies, Chairman. I was just saying, I was squeaking agreed, so we can crack on.
Okay, members, so are we able to agree that by assent?
Agreed.
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 Chairman, before you move on to the next agenda item, and it does relate to it, can I just ask members to take on board the lateness of the time? If members have got serious questions they want me to answer, I'm more than happy if they put them in writing. I'm just really conscious of the time, and you've said the meeting's ending at 9 o'clock, and I don't just mean the Conservatives, I mean all members, because I know the Independents have got questions for me, but I'm conscious if we've got 15 minutes of questions, we have got some urgent confidential business that must get through today. So I would ask members to take that into account, Chairman.
So members, are you prepared to write in with your questions to the leader and have a response at a later date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, agreed.
Is that agreed by assent?
Yeah, agreed.
Chairman, Councillor Flicker's got his hand up, Chairman.
I'm sorry, who was it?
Councillor Fluker, Chairman.
Councillor Fluker.
Chairman, the whole purpose of having leaders to the questions to the leader is for the residents and our businesses and other members of the public to understand the questions and understanding the responses. That is what the purpose of this is. I mean, Chairman, we have a new administration, and I'm sure that the public would like to hear.
Right, would you like to put your question? Would you like to put your question to the leader, please, Councillor Fluker?
Chairman, I do, and I do hope that other members will be allowed to ask their questions as well. So, leader,
I only did that to offer help to the council. I'm more than happy to sit here for 15 minutes and be questioned. That's fine.
So, leader, firstly, can I pay tribute to everyone in our district, and in particular the volunteers who have been involved in the rollout of the UK-wide vaccination programme. Leader, on the 14th of January, you wrote to the government expressing your support for small modular nuclear reactors. Given that it appears we are the only district council that has endorsed this technology, would it surprise you if such technology was scoped in our district? And for clarity and for the benefit of our residents, can you please confirm what your policy is with regards to nuclear energy and our district? Thank you very much, Leader.
To be honest, Councillor Fluker, you actually went in and out. I don't know if anybody else heard you properly, but I was straining to hear you. You mean my policy or the council's policy? I represent the council. The council made the decision. I didn't make the decision. So the council's policy was, and the letter went out according to the council's decision, Councillor Fluker.
Chairman,
I'm not to argue with you, Councillor Fluker. You will allow me to speak, and then when I take a breath and hand it back, but it is not a question and answer participation. You can ask me a question, I've answered it. I don't have to keep coming back to you.
Well, so, Chairman, I don't think the leader has asked the last piece of the question, but anyway, look, we're very busy.
Councillor Fluker, I didn't hear it all. Did you not hear me? I didn't hear it all. So if you now want to ask that second part of the question, then please do so. If I can answer it and I hear it, I will.
Okay, so for clarity and for the benefit of our residents, can you please confirm what your policy is with regards to nuclear energy and our district? Thank you.
No, I will not clarify what my personal view is, because I represent the residents, and it goes to the council where it is debated by all members and a policy is then written and agreed at council. I will not be put in any corner or pigeonholed to answer about nuclear power. I am the leader of the council and I attend meetings with an open mind and I listen to the debate, and it is not my, there's no way I'm going to start and do that sort of thing, Councillor Fluker. So I'm very sorry to disappoint you, but I thank you for your question.
Okay,
Next.
the question has been answered. Councillor Thompson.
Oh, apologies, Chairman, I didn't realise I was next. Can the leader tell me if now that the barges, the fees for the quay are quite considerably reduced, and I understand the reasons why that happened, but does she have a policy for where the cost of dredging is going to come from? Because this is really important to them to actually be able to leave and come back to the quay. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Thompson. No, we don't have a policy at the moment, or I don't, the council doesn't, but I'm sure the officers will be looking into that on the back of the February the 23rd finance meeting. So if there is an officer who can actually answer that, I'd be grateful, but if not, then we will have to come back to you later. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tara,
Anybody,
any other questions?
Is there an officer? Is there an officer that can answer?
Mr. Dodson, are you able to answer that?
No, sorry, Councillor Thompson. Okay. We'll get back to you, Councillor Thompson.
Okay. Tara, has anybody else indicated that they wish to speak?
Yes, Chairman. Councillor Mrs. Chandler, Councillor Helm, Councillor Siddle. Thank you, Chairman.
I did put my hand down and I was before the other two. I didn't realise that the leader was going to say, I did raise and lower my hand because I thought I was going to speak next, so I was next.
Okay, I'll take you then, Councillor Siddle.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I was pleased to read in the One Team newsletter about the major piece of work that has been developed on council equality and diversity and inclusion strategy. I understand that the officers Natasha Brown, Luke Daly, along with Josh Vulture, have been working together to develop the new strategy, which will be aligned to our corporate plan. I'm sure, like me, the leader is pleased that the strategy will focus on our workforce and also on our communities to ensure that the council is meeting its objectives. It'll be interesting to see how these progress. I personally would like to commend the officers and the council in committing to this work. I was very pleased earlier in the meeting that other members wanted to support these kind of values. So that's very welcome that they've expressed those things earlier. As from someone from the LGBTQ+ community, I really do appreciate that this work is happening. A lot of people do not understand how much harder it is for someone from this community to grow up in a rural area rather than a city, where it can be easier to access support. I know when I was younger, I went through a lot of personal struggle. And if we can support our communities in any way to ensure that people do not have to face the same issues, people from diverse backgrounds, I know from my own experience, can feel very isolated. I'm pleased that the strategy is going to incorporate inclusion and that the council ensuring it creates an environment where everyone feels welcome and valued. As many of you know, my own personal experience as a councillor over the last 2 years has at times been some of the most stressful of my life. My question to the leader is, does she herself support these values, and does she feel that something that members need to incorporate into their own behaviour? Does she hope that in future we see members behave in a way that respects equality, diversity and inclusivity?
Thank you, Councillor Siddle. What absolutely excellent question and superb quality. Yes, we do, and I thank you for asking it. It is really important that this council is seen to be embracing, taking on board all aspects of equality and diversity. You'll be pleased to know I have actually looked into this, and I'm so happy that this council is going to bring a report to another committee in, I think, 2 months' time, because a lot of work has been done on this, Councillor Siddle. And I'll just read a little bit of the information that I've gathered. the people that you've mentioned, the officers, have been collaborating and working on the new equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, which will be aligned to the corporate plan, which we obviously passed earlier, members, so thank you for that. This strategy will not only focus on our workforce, but on our communities. It's not just councillors, it's our communities, it's our staff, it's everybody we know who should be treated with respect. There is also to be set objectives to make sure that we are meeting our priorities. And I think that's one for Councillor Bell, because she always wants to quantify something with a key performance indicator or such as like Councillor Bell, don't you?
Smart targets, leaders, smart targets.
Smart is that comes later on in the part, Councillor Bell. Both our existing policy and our strategy going forward are very much aligned to the Equalities Act 2010, but we have also incorporated inclusion into our strategy. With regard inclusion, focus will be both on our workforce but also external communities. Members, as I said, there is a paper, it's excellent, coming to council. It's a fantastic strategy. It's hang on a minute. It's at present 12 pages long. I've had a read of it and I'm absolutely over the moon with the progress this council is making. And Councillor Siddle, I can only apologise on behalf of myself, because I can do this without having to have the backing of the council, that you have been treated this way since you was a council, this district council, and hopefully our corporate plan, well, I know it will. I think the behaviour is more supportive, understanding, and that we can move forward in a positive way. And thank you for that question. It's really nice to have a positive question and not have to put my crash helmet on. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Leader. Councillor Channer.
Thank you. Well, you won't need your crash helmet for this. It's just a follow up from the last question. Well, at the last meeting, no, the one before, sorry, 4th of Feb. I did ask you a question about the Parish Council Forum, and you kindly said you felt it was a good idea and you would check the Constitution in terms of reference. May I ask if you've done that, but also may I go a bit further and ask, wouldn't it be sensible for something like that to all be on mod.gov? I am aware, I think some members are having trouble accessing various things, and wouldn't it be best if everything was on mod.gov so we could all sort of get into things like that? And certainly something like the Parish Council Forum that has agendas and business that we ought to be aware of, so when we do go to parishes we can answer questions if they ask us about things that occurred at the forum. Thank you, Leader.
Yes, I did contact an officer, and I'm sorry I haven't come back with the answer. If I'd have known you was going to ask the question again for follow-up, I would have done so, Councillor Channer. The officers are listening to this meeting. Can you please look into doing that? I'm sure you can accommodate what Councillor Channer's just said. I'm more than happy to do that. And it's really important because we are going to work more cooperatively and together, not just at district and parish councils, but Essex County councils, etc., going further and further afield for cooperation. I think that can be done, Councillor Channer. So thank you very much, because that is definitely working together for the benefit of this council. So thank you. Mr. Dodson's got his hand up, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dodson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say, I thought that had been done and added to ModGov, but yes, of course, we will make that happen as we're looking at populating that library on ModGov to make sure the information is there for members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Helm.
When I put my hand down, I'm conscious of the time, and I can always do my question in writing to the leader and copy everybody in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Helm.
Thank you very much, and yes, thank you for that. Any other questions, Tara?
No, Chairman, not that I can see. Thank you.
I'll move on then. This is to agenda item 19, business by reason of special circumstances considered by the Chairman to be urgent. I have none, therefore I'm going to move to agenda item 20, which is exclusion of the press and public. And I move that under section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, and this satisfies the public interest. Do I have a seconder for that?
I'll second
Councillor
Thank you very much. So, members of the public, this is where we thank you very much for your attendance this evening, but we now have to go into private session, and that has now been agreed. So, thank you very much for listening, and good evening. Tara, could you tell me when the streaming is stopped, please?